Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. Tonight, a drug consumption site will open in Windsor. We'll clear up the details on a celebrated compromise. Plus, part 3 of the real cost of EVs. While EVs promise environmental wins, we look at some of the potential costs. The shock of freezing temperatures today, they're about to get worse into the night. And celebrating Black voices, the Windsor Symphony Orchestra launches a new concert series. We begin tonight with more details on the future of the city's first drug consumption site. A surprise push to stop the previously approved site from opening was halted ahead of Monday's City Council meeting. Instead, there was a promise of a compromise. The CBC's Jason Vio breaks down the deal and what's next for SafePoint.
So this is where the new drug consumption site will open up as early as March. It's still waiting for federal approval. Now this will be open until a new permanent one is found. Now this is a pretty busy intersection here at the corner of Goyu and Wyandotte Street East. The Windsor-Detroit Tunnel behind me, many businesses in the area as well. And some of those businesses approached rookie councillor Ronaldo Agostino saying they don't want this here.
Talk to the hotel, talk to the restaurants down there. It was a big concern for them, and it's difficult for people to come out and say, we're against this, we're against the location. It's difficult. Now, it's easy to come out and say it's supported, but you don't want to be that person that comes out and says, hold on, wait a second. But you know what? That's what I got voted in to do, and that's what I'm going to do.
Agostino will now chair this new site selection committee, part of the collaboration and compromise that came up a lot today during the board meeting, with many around the table seeing this as a win.
A lot of sweat equity has been put into this.
The previous site selection process took 4 years. The Windsor-Essex County Health Unit says it consulted with 3,000 people. The site itself is nearly done, $775,000 in renovations. The lease has also been signed until 2025, so breaking it may cost taxpayers money. So how are these concerns about the location only surfacing now?
I can't answer for the past consultation piece. All I can really say, though, is that it's come up now. And as part of the process that I went through in our presentation, we are always receiving the continuous feedback.
Agostino has owned a downtown business for many years and admits he didn't voice his opinions on the location last time, but says it's important to get it right.
I'd like to start tomorrow working on a new site for a new location, something that will satisfy the needs of whoever's on the board, whoever's at the table. And this time, the difference between this time and last time is everyone sits at the table this time. Last time, from what I understand, not everybody was sitting at the table.
But there's still a chance this could be the permanent home. Agostino says he isn't opposed to keeping the consumption site at 101 Wyandotte Street East if things go well when it opens. Ultimately, Windsor City Council will have the final say on where the drug consumption site will end up in downtown Windsor, but it's clear this is no longer a conversation about if it will happen, but rather where the permanent home will be. And Councillor Ronaldo Agostino says having it near the Mission, like around here, would be a good option, but also having it near the city's homelessness hub, which is about 5 years away. Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
Tonight, part 3 of our series looking at the real cost of EVs. Now, we take a look at the environment. The big push to electrify vehicles here in Windsor and across the country is promising to be an important key to get to carbon zero. But some environmentalists are concerned that speed could come with consequences.
Okay, so...
It's so quiet.
Yeah, there's no noise whatsoever.
What's your favorite part about driving an EV?
I think it gives you a better sense of like your environment because you're not having a destruction like from your engine, obviously, and you can just enjoy the ride.
Michael Schneider is an environmentalist. He's worked in the solar panel industry for years and is the chapter lead for the EV Society for Windsor-Essex. He's owned EVs for 10 years now.
Mostly at the time it was an environmental decision at that time because I had the chance to buy a vehicle that's less carbon intensive.
Electric vehicles promise to get us down to carbon zero, an important goal in the battle against climate change. And with that, some aggressive targets.
We want every new vehicle, a car to be bought in Canada as of 2035 to be a zero-emission vehicle, to be an electric vehicle.
Many of these vehicles and the batteries for these vehicles would be built right here in Windsor, at the Windsor Assembly Plant and at the new electric vehicle battery plant. But these targets might be too ambitious.
These are really, really fast transitions. You know, we might do a lot of damage in the transition if we're not careful.
This scholar specializes in the governance of natural resources.
I want to be really clear that we have to decarbonize, and that my concern is with not robbing Peter to pay Paul. In other words, my concern is to ensure that as we decarbonize, we pay attention to how we're doing it, rather than just only look at the carbon unit as the sole unit of analysis of our questions of governance.
When you're buying electric vehicles, when you're driving electric vehicles, when you're supporting workers in Canada who are building electric vehicles, you're doing the right thing.
Environmental concerns might really take a back seat in a conversation that is so politically attractive.
Driving an EV has clear benefits. It's building them that causes concern. Kremars highlights the social and environmental impact of mining. To make batteries, you need materials like lithium, graphite, and cobalt. They all have environmental implications. Cobalt mining, most of it is currently done in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
There are a lot of visual images that show us the sort of poverty and human rights violations and violence in general that's been attached to mining cobalt.
Lithium, much of it done in South America, and takes a tremendous amount of water.
The urgency of this transition is also, in my view, threatening the kinds of careful consultations that need to take place, negotiations with communities that are going to be in zones of extraction and that are affected, careful water planning, really having a baseline of what are the water sources and what are ways in which these water sources are not going to be polluted, damaged, or dried up.
She predicts Canada will be relying on the global south to meet the government targets, saying that it could take years to set up a new mine in this country. Ontario's premier has his eyes on a local source.
When it comes to mining in the north, we have 34 of the most critical minerals that the whole world wants.
Ford's solution is to mine in the Ring of Fire, a major mineral deposit 500 kilometers north of Thunder Bay. He's committed to building a $1 billion access road to the area, saying it will make Ontario an auto manufacturing powerhouse once again. But some Indigenous communities in that region are worried about the environmental impact. Ford says consultations will happen.
We need consultation with First Nations. It's in their own backyard.
Teresa Sims says, yes, EVs as a product are good for the environment, and says the new battery plant will be positive for the local community.
But we have to make sure it's sustainable. We want to have those jobs, for generations, for the next 7 generations, not for, 50 years and then it's gone because we didn't think about the grid. We didn't think about the precious metals that are needed. You have to look at the whole picture to see the impact of our environment, not just the end product.
Automaker Stellantis says it's committed to making this transition responsibly.
It's really important that everything is responsibly mined as well. We're sourced all over the world. It's very important for us, as through the MCA process, obviously, that it's in free trade zones across North America. So we've got dedicated purchasing teams working on that from the supply base we already have today, and working to develop new supply base, including the new mines coming on board and the new infrastructure that'll be put in place here in Canada. Makes great sense for us. Makes great sense for Canada. Just reducing that supply chain is also going to reduce our carbon footprint, right? Less logistical chain, closer to the source, and know that it's being done responsibly.
But another key to reducing carbon footprint is simply fewer cars.
I say a lot of times, do we really need a Tesla in every driveway? Like, is this really the solution to the crisis that we've created? And I don't think so.
I think we should really not have 2 or 3 vehicles in every household.
For Schneider, he acknowledges that mining for metals needed in batteries does have an environmental impact, but he's optimistic.
Hopefully in the next few years, they will work on being able to manufacture batteries that have less of an impact on the environment by the manufacturing process, right? So we'll see where that goes.
In the meantime, he's doing his part to get to net zero behind the wheel of his electric car.
And you can read the entire series, The Real Cost of EVs, by going to our website. You'll find all 3 stories there on the environment, affordability, and the impact on jobs. Just go to cbc.ca/Windsor. A light pole on Erie Street in rough shape is finally getting fixed. Enwin was made aware of this pole on Erie Street near Weigel Park about 2 weeks ago. So much cement has fallen away, the rebar was exposed, and someone even threw a pop can inside. But a vice president at Enwin says it didn't pose any imminent danger.
Yeah, these poles will deteriorate over time, and some of them get in bad shape, and then when we find out about them, we investigate and take action, either ourselves or the city.
An Enwin crew has now taken the old pole down, replacing it with a new one. Brown says the pole needed replacing, but even when the cement falls away, the rebar is really what's holding the pole up. I want to now introduce you to a 16-year-old prodigy right here in our backyard. Saeed Omar Asim is a student at Bell River High School, and right now his paintings are placed at the Public Board's administrative building. Asim is nonverbal, diagnosed with autism at age 4. Here's a look at how he creates his art and what his family and art teacher make of his work.
You want red? Do you want to add red?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh, what?
His favorite color is 100% red.
As a parent, we were looking for something where he can, define his journey. He has a long way to go. And we focus on, something which is his strength rather than all the weaknesses. So that's how, we can start, the discovery of art and painting and all those things and getting all the resources, help and other stuff. So, yes, so you can say, his focus is art because he loves art, and that's what our focus is. We do not force him on to do anything else, other than art, that's all.
When I first met him, he wasn't actually painting at all. He was doing mostly oil pastels. So his parents showed me some of his work, and I thought it was really interesting stuff. But I wanted to get him painting too, because that's what I really love to do, and I thought he would really enjoy it. We started small paintings, now he's working on a lot bigger ones, and has more patience for those too. He does more of his steps on his own. I'm not right there guiding his look, he was like, nope, it's gonna be red here when I told him it should be blue. So whereas before, he maybe listened to me a little more. The uniqueness of his work, I think, is really what draws people in. It's what drew me into it too, right? It's so different. And it really kind of pulls you into his mind, which we don't really get to see a lot of, except for through his art.
The message is, we know, it's challenging, but the reality is he's our son. And that's a fact. And, you need to focus on the strength, not on the weaknesses.
That's beautiful. A live look outside there. It's really nice outside looking, rather, but it feels very, very cold, and we've got a cold night ahead. Colette Kennedy will be here with weather right after the break. Stay with us. Okay, so a big congratulations to anyone who was able to get out of their warm, cozy bed today because it is freezing outside. After a mild stretch of January, we are in the thick of it. There you have it, ice forming on the Detroit River. Really shows you how fast that water is moving. People also on the move, walking along Riverside, wearing just about every layer they can throw on. And maybe we'll see them in a little bit. A few birds that are somehow not, there they are. They're not stuck to that ice over at Little River on the east end. And this is a great time to bring in Colette Kennedy. It was really cold outside. And I'm sure people want to know, how long is this sticking around for?
Yeah, and I'll be happy to answer that question. But I did feel like once I got all my gear on, and by the way, it was hard to get out of bed. I got the flannel sheets on. That's always difficult. But once I got all my gear on, I looked like I was ready for a lunar landing kind of thing, like just so big and puffy. But anyway, that's what we need, and we're lucky if we have it to put on. The current temperature minus double digits, so minus 11 for Windsor, Chatham, Kent as well. And we're talking about the winds having eased some, but they're going to kick up again. I'm going to get to the forecast winds in a moment, but let's just take those sustained winds and factor them in so we can get our wind chill values. Minus 20, Sarnia at Windsor at minus 17, minus 23, London and Kitchener. And as you go east from there, I think you probably know what happens. I mean, on towards Toronto, it's minus 30 for the wind chill tonight. On towards the nation's capital, it's minus 40 for the wind chill tonight. The forecast winds, this is what I want to show you what kind of happens. Through the overnight, things are relatively light, but then we get into Saturday and we're going to find the winds picking up. But look at the direction of the arrows. So a southerly wind, we're finally going to get out of this very cold Arctic air mass. We're going to find our temperatures rebounding and recovering on us. And those southerly winds are going to help, even if they are going to be rather blustery. Now, the wind chills minus 30 to minus 40. That's in the extreme cold warning. That's off in central and eastern Ontario where those prevail. Also prevailing with what winds are left from the northwest are these snow squalls. So there are still snow squall warnings and also winter weather travel advisories, just as we're going into the weekend in case anyone listening has got some traveling to do. Those will back off too as those winds continue to ease overnight tonight. But you can see not too far away, they're over towards Goderich, getting some of those still coming through. Now, into tomorrow, we get cloud cover. We have a chance of getting into some flurries, but primarily we're going to find that it's just variable into the afternoon hours. And then into Sunday, again, quite a bit of cloud cover coming our way. And as we look ahead through time, how about the overnight temperature tonight? Yeah, looking like this as we roll through. So we will rebound to that minus 15, and then we will come up to minus 1. But I do want to tell you that overnight tonight, that kind of range of minus 15 to minus 18 for our low, it's still going to feel like minus 25. So still dangerously cold. And that's tomorrow morning as well. But the southerly flow I was showing you, that brings the temperature up. Now, in the afternoon, we may not quite be there. We may be at still minus 3, minus 2. It will keep going up in the evening hours. So sun at times, but as you saw, it's variable. Then into Sunday, a little bit of light mixed precipitation. But look at these temperatures. Look at that temperature story going forward, Kat.
Yeah, we got a little rebound on the way. So
we sure do, a big one.
Thanks for that, Colette. Have a good weekend.
Yes, you as well.
When we come back, a look at the Windsor Symphony Orchestra's celebration of Black voices. Stay with us. No, you still don't have me. All right. Sorry about that, folks. We had a bit of a technical issue. All right, we are back. The federal Liberals have withdrawn a controversial amendment to their gun control bill that provoked widespread opposition. The amendment widened the definition of assault-style weapons to include some currently used as hunting rifles. CBC's David Cochran reports.
It is not our intention, as I noted, to move Amendment G46.
With those words, the Liberals waved the white flag on their controversial gun amendments, scrapping a plan that critics argued unfairly targeted hunters and farmers.
We have seen the most underhanded amendment in the largest hunting rifle ban in Canadian history, attempted in the most underhanded way.
The Liberals tried to push through surprise amendments banning a long list of long guns that included popular hunting rifles. This was done at a committee discussing a handgun ban and without following the normal process for studying legislation.
You know, I don't know what reasoning the Liberals ultimately had for these amendments, but I definitely will underline the incompetence part of it.
The outcry was swift, the backtracking inevitable, the gloating immediate.
Today's humiliating climb down that we have forced Trudeau to make is a temporary pause in his plan to ban hunting rifles. He is doing this because he got caught.
Even as they backtrack, the Liberals have to plot a new way forward on guns to clean up this mess while delivering on their election promise.
We are committed to not affecting hunting and at the same time taking the types of guns that are capable of mass carnage off the streets.
We will work with the government and with those involved in preparing a new strategy for an amendment. We will be there working with the committee for this new proposition. We hope it will be strong for all Canadians. And I repeat it, our fight is not against hunters. Our fight is against assault-style weapons for our safety.
As they figure out what's next, the Liberals find themselves in a political mess of their own making, with hunters and gun owners mad that they even tried this in the first place, and gun control advocates disappointed that it all fell apart. David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
For the flight of a balloon over the U.S. yesterday, but despite its assurances, Secretary of State Antony Blinken has postponed his upcoming visit to China in response.
The presence of this surveillance balloon in U.S. airspace is a clear violation of U.S. sovereignty and international law, that it's an irresponsible act, and that the PRC's decision to take this action on the eve of my planned visit is detrimental to the substantive discussions that we were prepared to have.
U.S. officials described it as a spy balloon. Shooting it down was considered, but casualties from debris were feared. China says it was for civilian science and weather research and that it was blown off course. It says it has no intention of violating any sovereign country's airspace. Now, we wanted to tell you more about Windsor Symphony Orchestra's new series to celebrate Black voices, and they are going to have two special shows this weekend. They'll be playing music by Black composers as part of their series, and the shows will be held in a pair of historically significant locations. Windsor Morning had one of the performers on their show to get a taste of what's in store, and you can see some of that online as well. Those shows start tonight. They'll be performing at the Amherstburg Freedom Museum in about 30 minutes. They play again tomorrow. That's Sandwich First Baptist Church at 2. Tickets cost $30. anytime. Go to cbc.ca/Windsor, and that's where you can find all 3 stories related to the Real Cost of EVs series that we rolled out this week. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.